What's up, everybody? It's your favorite competitor's favorite nerd, and today we are looking at the Magic Square Optimus Prime. I bought this from Titan 1. For those that don't know, Titan 1 is closing its doors this year, which is a real bummer, because he's a great guy and he's done really well by people. He's been fair, he's treated it like a community and a business at the same time, which is challenging at best. So I want to kind of support him as much as I can on his way out the door. And I suggest all of you guys do the same thing. He's only carrying a few more pieces before he closes his doors to Titan 1 this year, and I am very sad to see him go, but the link will be in the description. With that being said, there's an awful lot to talk about regarding this guy, regarding his competitors, etc., etc., but you know where we have to start, and that's with accessories. And we'll start with this signature blaster, a really great sculpt, metallic fleck plastic and gray paint inside this area here, and as you saw in the opening footage, he holds it just fine. You can't have an Optimus Prime without that thing from that episode, and this is his, and it goes like this. We'll show how it works. It's an orange translucent, and it's fine. You can take it and plug it into his hand, kind of typical Masterpiece style. You gotta get the fingers through. Once you have the one piece in his hand, slide the other piece on, and you shouldn't have an issue. He comes with battle damage pieces for the windshield and for his two flank pieces, which is fine. This is, I guess, an answer to Takara's Megatron. It's not as effective as Takara's Megatron because it's not kind of as all-encompassing. I'm not even going to go through the hassle. It's translucent plastics, and I'm concerned about how well they'll hold up. It's just not ultimately worth it for me. I'm sure you can find pictures on the internet of how it looks if that's what you choose to do. You also get this alternate helmet with no kind of baseball cap brim. I don't know. I'd have to go back. I guess maybe, I'm not sure what the intention was. I reached out to Titan 1 and asked him, and he said maybe the animation changed over time, and that's what they were trying to do. I don't really understand this move, but you have this option. There's a single screw that could remove it, and you could replace this one. I've always liked the baseball cap, so I wouldn't go that route, but you can if you'd like. Gimmick-wise, of course, he has to have a chest that opens up. Of course, there has to be a matrix that's inside. You know, you just have to do it. There's no way around it. You have an Optimus Prime, you gotta do it, which I understand. The Matrix is nice, it's die cast, which gives a little bit of extra weight to the figure. We have silver paint, copper paint, and then this kind of like translucent blue inside. And you know what, it's good enough. I really wish that these would have been a different color plastic instead of the translucent. It doesn't seem as cohesive to me as a result. Now let's talk about the figure. So my first impression was that it's very solid, but it's also very light and there's no paint on it. I mean, there is some, but that was my first impression. It was like, it is a very plain figure. I got some scuff marks there, which is a bummer because it's built fairly well. And had it had that paint on it, it probably would have been like a knockout figure, but it doesn't. So the head. The head has eyes that are painted and maybe parts of the gray that are painted definitely inside the helmet. It's on a hinge swivel, which is the optimal way to do it in my opinion. You get up to there and a good bit down. Their antenna also swivel here and here, which is nice, and then that. So perfect, no issues whatsoever. Orange paint on the accents for the headlights, well not headlights, but I guess marker lights on the cab, and then the windshield wipers swivel, but I don't really recommend it. It's small and I don't know. Like this one I can't get to sit flush either, which is a bit of a problem. Silver paint on those, I believe. Blue translucent window. Chrome for the guts, which look good. Gray paint, I would imagine, for this piece here. The waist swivels, so no issues there. And you get an ab crunch using a double hinge. Pretty much as far as you would desire. I'm not sure how much of this you could actually use without breaking the sculpt too much, but probably enough to get a decent pose for a picture or display. For the shoulders, they're actually quite interesting. They collapse all the way to here. You can then extend them, which show a double hinge to a swivel, basically like a double universal, which can get you the arm all the way up. Maybe a little shy of all the way up, but I think everything that you would need and out, no problem. There's a butterfly joint, so that's useful and helpful. It also goes in reverse, so that's nice as well, and swivels all the way around. So everything that you want out of the shoulder is going to be doable, and it cleans up well if you collapse it. Chrome on the pipe here, and then you have bicep swivel, no problem. I'm cutting this in because I missed it initially. The elbow is double jointed. The second joint is very tight. So you get to here, and then if you push, you get a little bit more, get you almost the full run. Like, that's amazing and great, because it's a pose that I like to put him in regards to his gun. So very cool. A couple black paint accents there, which is strange, just given how little paint there is on this thing. Yellow paint there, which looks nice. And then the hands. You have a wrist swivel. No problems there. The fingers are on a base pin knuckle, individually articulated, with the second knuckle also being articulated or with a pin, and they extend all the way, which is nice, because a lot of people want to do the typewriter fingers. These go all the way. And then the thumb is on a ball peg, so that's nice, and then there's an additional hinge at the first knuckle there. Now, the mushroom cap, so to speak, of this wrist is visible completely, and I feel like a lot of times with stuff like that, the more you kind of maneuver it, the looser it becomes, so we're just going to keep our eye on it. And that's it. Same for the other side. So, hip skirts, which they didn't have initially, and I said something about it in a sit-down Saturday, and now it has it, so I'm taking partial credit. Don't care if I have anything to do with it or not. Yellow translucent plastics here for the crotch piece. These can get out of the way for the full Van Damme, and a little shy of the full Monty, but a pretty good range. So no issues. They're universals, ratcheted outward. They're inconsistent ratchets. We've been seeing that more and more recently. The forward and back ones feel better than the out to the side ones. Alrighty, so we have a thigh swivel built around the universal, which is optimal. And then we have the knee, which is a hard ratchet, double jointed, gets you the full run. So no issues there. Chrome piece for the piston up inside. That's a nice little thing, even though the knees are a bit ugly, and they actually aren't that bad if you just use one hinge. If you use both, it starts to break it up a little bit, but the piston is a nice touch. So this is one of those things that I didn't like in pictures, but doesn't bother me in the least in real life, so that's nice. The legs, big blue plastic blocks, which is a bit of a bummer because it would look really nice if it had some paint on it. And they're two different tones of blue, which is a little strange. Like, this is different than this, which is different than this, which is different than that. These two match, these two match. It just seems bizarre. Bizarre choice. Ankles, you have a toe hinge down. Let's see if we get any up. And up, so that works. No ankle tilt, but you do get an ankle rocker on a hinge here that gets you the full run, so that's nice. And then a piece of blue translucent plastic there. And then the back is painted for the lights, and then there it is from the back. Pretty clean, pretty sharp, backpack looks good, etc. Like, it's a very tune accurate Prime. It would have really popped had they painted it. Like, it would have really, I think, been stunning. As it is, it's just sort of good. It's a good representation of Prime. I think it could have been an amazing representation of Prime had they painted it. Size comparison wise, there it is with the MP10. And I think it's a little bit taller for one, which I'm okay with. But also what's interesting is it's kind of retained the same beefiness, which is what I liked about MP10 is the beefiness. But it also fixes the proportions, how long the forearms are, the length of the legs, the length of the calves in relation to the thighs, etc., etc. Like, it definitely is an upgrade aesthetically, I feel like. Certainly an improvement. There he is next to Megatron, and he's a little taller, and I think that might bother some people. Doesn't bother me. I don't think you'd even really notice it in most scenarios, but I can see how it could bother some. I think they look good together, though. And then there it is with a few arc bots of various sizes to kind of give you an idea of how he'll fit in. Once again, I think it works beautifully, and it does look a lot better than MP10 in regards to how it looks. And you know what? I'll do that as well. Put him in there. And it just looks like it's kind of cut from the same cloth now. It just seems to fit in, but that's because we're going for that hyper-tuned look these days, which honestly I'm not sure how I feel about the more and more we get into it, but yeah, it's happening. So what do they say, adapt or die? So let's get him transformed. And I like to put as much stuff away as possible early on because it just limits the chances, I feel like, of me breaking something. So we're going to get this out and we're going to spin this around so that it lines up. We're going to open up this flap, tuck this, oh, you can't see that, tuck this piece in, and then back down to hide that whole panel. And then we're going to tuck the hand inside. Let's do that again and try not to shake the camera. So we're going to expand this piece here. And then we have to finagle this piece out. Once we do so, we're going to try to line this up with the gray areas there. We're going to open up this piece, fold this in half, tuck the whole thing back, and then take the hands. These fingers are a little loose on mine, also, as a heads up. That's probably individual results will vary, but that's how mine are. Now, to finish it off, there's a panel at the bottom. Fold that out, and then rock this whole assembly back so that it all kind of lines up flush at the front and tabs into the elbow. So we're going to do the same thing on this side. We're going to rotate the elbow so that it's 90 degrees. We're going to have this in location as we would expect it to look. We're going to fold out this one last panel from the inside so that it sits flush. And then we're going to rock this piece back so that it tabs into both the forearm and the elbow. We're going to get the head out of here too. So open this piece up, fold this whole panel back. You had to fold the ears slightly forward so that it fits within the space. And then close this up and make sure that it's squared up properly so that it encapsulates the antenna. And now comes the bulk of it. So expand your ab crunch to give you working space. Get the arms out of the way. Open up your chest. You can get this piece a little bit out too. You want to, let's see, we can just pull this out for now. These pieces need to come down. The tires need to spin around so that they're in the proper location that you would expect. And then this piece needs to flip back up to kind of form the front of the truck. And we're going to do that on both sides. This piece needs to spin this way. And as you can see, that is the front bumper. So that needs to come down. And all of this is going to eventually line up. On the shoulders, make sure they're extended all the way, which sometimes is a little bit tricky to realize. And then move them to the back, collapse them all, and then move the forearm around to the inside. Just like, it's amazing to me how that G1 transformation like kind of always shows itself. Like it just reminds us that sometimes it's right to begin with. All right, we're gonna do the same thing on this side. Pull out, so to speak. Grab it around to the back. Collapse the whole bit of business. And then make sure that there's enough space for your forearm, which is going to come around to the inside. Make sure that this front piece is closed. And then we're going to collapse this and hope and pray that everything plugs in properly to form the front of the truck, which it did. Now, you want to spin here, open up this piece, which I might need a little tool for. And that needs to go inside of this compartment in order to line it up properly. And there's a little groove for it to slide into. And that's how you know you've got it right. All right, the legs. Open up this panel here. This whole piece will swing outwards. Get that out of the way. The tires you need to kind of separate from the inner workings of the leg, pulling them out on this rod, moving it around, so to speak, and getting this piece free from the inside, which will double open. Then this piece of the leg on the inside, you gotta reverse these two. You see that whole section there? Has to flip around to the inside. Then this whole piece collapses. This sits down to the side. This piece folds down and down. And actually, I think you're supposed to keep this flap open until that's come back. Collapse this peg back into that spot there. Close this flap, which should peg back in, and then this piece comes down on top. Let's do it on this leg. Open up this panel here. Separate this whole piece. Bring this to the outside. You have to get enough space to pull out on these tires, which once you have them in a good location will reveal two more flaps on the inner workings that will expand. There's a piece on the vents here which has to be flipped 180 at the bottom. And then the leg combiner wars up. This piece, you can collapse the tires again. And then this piece will fold down, fold back into position to lock into this lower leg. This piece will collapse back. This piece will collapse down. The feet collapse both at the top and the bottom on both sides. Legs together, and then clip your side panels in on both sides. I'll get them cleaned up. We'll take a look at them. And there it is. And I think it does the job. Honestly, I think it does a pretty good job. The back at least a little bit to be desired back in here, but I mean the chrome gas pipe, fuel tanks and such look good. Chrome bumper, chrome grill, all that stuff looks good. A lot of my pieces don't want to stay plugged in like 100%, but that may be my own error. I'm willing to accept that. But yeah, I think it does the trick. All that looks sharp, little couple accents and such. Yeah, I don't have any issues with this. I think this is fine. It would look better with paint, obviously. Let me show you what it looks like with Tiger Tracks. So I'd say that's in the ballpark. Unfortunately, there's no way to connect the trail. Oh, no, I don't think there is. But let's see. No, so that's a bit of a bummer. It would have been nice if you could have connected the trailer to it. Yeah, but like they have these little indentations here, which look like they might have something planned. But yeah, as it is, I don't see any way. I mean, you can fake it, you know, just kind of sit it on top, but you'll know. You'll know in your heart. Let's do one more comparison. And there it is with MP10, which I haven't transformed in a very long time, but I still have it apparently. And I like MP10 in truck mode an awful lot more. I agree that this looks more cartoon accurate, but I think this looks cooler. Like it looks, I don't know, there's something about it that looks more real. It's interesting, like just reminding myself how much of the transformation this borrows from this in terms of, I mean, it's not exact or identical, but it's definitely inspired by, without question. One thing I keep forgetting to mention, these pipes do extend and retract, and then the whole piece does actually slide down and up, which will help during the transformation process. So let me talk about the negatives first. The biggest glaring kind of shortcoming of this guy is the lack of paint. And in a masterpiece era where a lot of the more highly regarded masterpiece figures are almost fully painted, it sticks out like a sore thumb. It really and truly does. Had it been painted, this would probably be a completely different conversation. But because it's not, it's just a massive shortcoming. And as a result, a lot of the other issues stand out a bit more. There is an issue with this thing with stuff staying stuck in. I've had pieces kind of fall off, little translucent pieces while I've been manipulating it have like come undone. One of the side mirrors on the truck came undone. There's some fingers that are loose, as you saw. There's just some like fit and finish, finishing touches kind of stuff that's just not 100% with this thing. And that's kind of where my bigger criticisms lie. It also would have been nice if they had an adapter piece or something for the MP10 trailer to fit on board. Like, it just would have been a thoughtful component. Positives though, the sculpt is extremely cartoon accurate. I love the engineering, like I love the transformation. It's involved, but it's intuitive. It's challenging, but it's rewarding. It's intricate and complicated without being frustrating. And it's actually fun to do, which is one of those things that I feel like is often easier said than done. And that's probably because it uses a great deal of MP10's ideas. It does have a good feel. It just doesn't have a masterpiece feel. It doesn't have that same polish that we see from MMC's Ocular Max stuff, Fans Toy stuff, Make Toy stuff, Takara, of course. It doesn't have that polished feel to it, which I do like and miss in this offering. It has a lot of hardware. A few of the ratchets are inconsistent, and I would have preferred a hard ratchet over a soft ratchet, but everything is there, and the articulation is phenomenal. I don't think I want anything more except maybe stronger ankle tilts down, but you can even fake that with the toe tilt, so it's kind of a loss I'm willing to take, especially for what you're getting. It also has a very strong presence. Like, there's no denying that it feels just like the cartoon. I'm not sure how I feel about things feeling just like the cartoon in my current state, but it does feel that way. And the price is extremely affordable, especially when Takara's is $300 and some change if you get it through Japanese Amazon, or $400 and some dollars if you get it through American retailers. And I'm just not willing to spend that much for a replacement piece. I'm sure that the Takara one will probably blow this one out of the water. I think I'm at a point where I have to ask myself, for replacement pieces, is it good enough? And for me, it is. So I can recommend it, but if you're looking to see what the best offering is going to be, probably a worthwhile venture to sit back, see how the TF Element plays out, and then how the Takara one plays out. But the Takara one isn't supposed to hit until third quarter, I think, so you never know what things are going to look like. However, I'm sure when it comes out, a ton of this stuff will go for sale and the groups and so forth, so there'll probably be a way around it, but just something to consider. So thank you once again to Titan One. I am sorry to see you go. I hope you can return. And to the rest of you guys, thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Until next time, take care.